Hey, what is up guys? GuitarRock here, welcome back to another Nikke Goddess of Victory video. Alright, today's video we're going to talk about the wish list system. Alright, so I know it's been a while since we have done an updated guide about the wish list. So let's talk a little bit more about what is going to be the best characters for you to put in the wish list right here. Because with the recent changes, they have added this bonus recruit. Right now, every 100 pulls, you can choose either Alice, Naga or Litter. And then you can see right here, you can recruit them up to 6 times, right? Very, very cool feature for new players if you're trying to get one of the meta characters. All these 3 are meta characters, best of their particular burst category, right? Litter is the best burst one. Naga could arguably be one of the best burst too, not counting Crown and Grave and stuff, right? And then Alice is one of the best burst 3, not counting Pilgrims. So with that, let's talk about who should you put in the wishlist category and priority. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably watching this from different areas, different directions, and some of you guys are probably veteran players, some of you guys are probably like beginners. So I'm going to try to explain each individual category and hopefully give you guys a better idea. Now, if you're new, ideally your objective of putting characters in the wishlist is going to be able to pass through the 160 wall. Now, if you are not aware of the 160 wall, you need 5 limit break 3 characters to pass the 160 wall. 5 limit break 3 characters, that means the best characters for you to put right here, ideally, is going to be characters that you already have limit break 1 or limit break 2. So you get 1 more copy, so you can get limit break 3. So it is going to be something that's very, very important. Now, if you are able to follow this advice, then you will be as lucky as some of these who will be able to pass the 160 gate in only 9 days. So some people, they get stuck longer, obviously. Regardless, you can still play however you want. If you don't care about the 160 wall as much, you are okay with being there for months or years. I've seen some people like stuck there for 2 years. It is what it is, alright? If you want to collect new characters, that you can go that route as well. So with that, let's talk a little bit more about which character you want to put ideally in each of this category. But before we talk about that, you guys need to be aware of a couple of things. Right now, as of the time of me recording this video, it's the end of November 2024. Going into December, we are most likely going to have the Christmas limited characters, right? The limited characters, you cannot put them in the wishlist, alright? If you guys are not aware already, you can only get them during the limited time period. Or in some cases, like you can only get them once per year. For example, the swimsuit characters, the Christmas characters, etc, right? Collect characters applies the same rule as well. You cannot wishlist them and you cannot put pilgrims into the wishlist. However, you have a chance to obtain pilgrims right here. These are all the pilgrim characters. You still have a very small chance to get them, 0.0455% for each of them. As of the time of me recording right now, Cinderella hasn't been added yet. So if you guys want to have a chance of Cinderella and Grave, maybe wait for a little bit because I think Grave banner is still here. That's probably why she's not added yet. Maybe wait for Grave and Flora banner to end and then they'll add all 3 to the standard banner right here. So make sure to keep this rule in mind. With that being said, let's talk about the best characters of each of this category: Alishan, Misil, and Tetra. So let's first talk about Alishan, who is going to be the best character for you to put right here, alright, in terms of options that you have. In a lot of cases, limit break is going to give you more stats, right? So it's just that straightforward. Ideally, the best characters that benefit from these bonus stats are going to be the attacker or the burst 3 damage dealer characters. Usually it's going to apply to them, right? If you are a supporter, you probably don't need that extra stats, right? You still get a little bit of damage increase, but very, very minuscule compared to the damage dealers, which makes a lot of sense for most players to put or prioritize the attackers, right? Now, for the first cast of characters, I highly recommend Helm at least 1 copy if you haven't have her already. So she's a very strong character. I think if you're looking for a burst 3 healer, she's very, very unique. She's probably the only one that can do that in burst 3 slot, right? Because of that niche, you can practically use her in every team. Now, I do highly recommend everybody to have at least 1 copy of Helm. Now, Privity is a good option if you're trying to get her to limit break 3, right? Just to pass 160 wall. But in most cases, I wouldn't get multiple copies for her. The reason why is because she's a burst 3 supporter, and you also get 1 copy for her for free. I think the day by day 14 days new player event, you at least get 1 copy for her. Even though she's an attacker, right? You can see right here, but she's much more of a support role where she basically have this particular skill right here which improves attack, reload speed and reduce max ammo capacity. She's very, very good if you pair her with Dorothy, and maybe you can put like a swimsuit Anis in there. But in most cases, you don't really need priority unless she's part of your roster to try to get into the limit break tree to pass the 160 watt. Now next, I would say Emma, Polly, Braid, Vesti, these are characters that I would say like they are not really that useful overall, right? The reason why is Emma and Polly are both 40 seconds character. So ideally for burst 1 and burst 2, you want to have 20 seconds character. Now Braid and Vesti can be used, however, you know, they are still a bit pale in comparison of what the other characters can probably do. Now when it comes to Guillotine, right, she is a very unique character, although her typing is just definitely much more complex. She is an electric type DPS, right, damage dealer. But recently we have Cinderella, and you know Cinderella is also going to be in that slot, and a lot of strong pilgrims are already taking that electric slot, and not to mention Iron as well, which is going to be a Misil character, which we're going to talk about shortly. So I feel like she's somewhere in the middle, so we're gonna leave her there for a little bit. For Maiden, she's good in PvP, but that's gonna be pretty much it. D Killer Wife can be strong here and there, very niche, but ideally in most cases, you are going to prioritize her early on if you're trying to like get through in the Alishan Tower. I know that Alishan Tower is a bit annoying because there's not much good option. Now Must, sadly, she is just a very niche unit, right? She's a character that gives you like HP boost to the highest attack character, but she doesn't really work or synergizes with Cinderella, which is going to make it such a bummer to basically include her. Now, D Killer Wife is one of the meta characters that I would say you can consider as well. She is very strong. Now should you get her to 3 copies? Probably not, right? But again, because she's a burst 1 supporter, but she does have CDR, which is very unique, and she's probably one of the better Pierce buffers out there to pair with Red Hood and a bunch of other Pierce characters, right? So highly recommend you guys to at least get D Killer Wife 1 copy. Signal, very bad character. Do not use her at all. I think I've only used her like once in my life, just not worth using, right? Marsana is probably one of the best healer in the game if you're looking for burst 2 specifically. The problem with Marsana is she doesn't do anything other than heal. She heals a lot, a ton of healing, but that's pretty much where she's good at. If you're looking for a healer that buffs a little bit, then she's not going to be the best option out there, sadly, right? However, if you are looking for a dedicated burst 2 healer, I think Marsana can be considered. Maid Privity is a very strong character from the Alishan class. I think she's going to be one of the better attackers right here. She is a shotgun, however, that means in some situations, some circumstances in the tower, right, if you're trying to play Alishan Tower, enemies that are too far, she might not be able to capitalize on her distance as much, right, or her like capabilities due to the weapon limitation. So she is still very strong though, one of the core characters if you're trying to run a shotgun team. Eventually, when you move to late game, you are probably going to lean towards that. And then we have Solin, which I personally do not recommend. She used to be like kind of a meme character that was strong for a little bit, but then I wouldn't recommend her. Yunhua, just don't use her, man. Just don't use Yunhua. One of the worst characters in the game on par with Crow. I wouldn't consider her at all. Quarry is decent for PvP, but if you don't care about PvP, I don't think you really need her as much, right? There's a lot of other options for PvP actually. I don't think she's like the top that you want to have. Plus, she's not like a S tier for PvP. I would say like she's probably S tier at most, right? Still pretty decent. Zwei, I wouldn't recommend her for new players as well. But if you are a new player, the best character for DPS wise, Phantom, right? If you're looking to climb Alishan Tower, I would say Phantom is going to be the best damage dealer. Now Phantom is not like Pilgrim level, she still falls behind some of the other damage dealers, but right here in the category of Alishan cast characters, she's still probably going to be one of the better ones. So this is something that I would lean towards, right? Again, a lot of the characters right here, they do have their innate properties and some of them can be used occasionally in some situation, but my general advice is these 5 characters, you get the most use out of these 5. Now let's talk about the next one in the Misil in particular. Now this one is very interesting. I do like this a lot. Misil has much more cast of diverse characters. Now priority number 1 that you want to go with straight up is to put Tia right here. Now, why Tia in particular? Because you're going to get Naga right here for free eventually, right? You can basically pick Naga here, so getting Tia makes a lot of sense. So Naga needs 2 characters to work with, either Tia or Crown, which makes a lot of sense. So ideally, your priority number 1 is to put Tia immediately right here. So she's going to be your priority number 1. Now as for all of these characters, I don't really recommend Naga unless you're trying to get to the limit break 3. But if you are trying to, right, she is going to be a good option to basically wishlist here. But for a lot of veteran players, I would say she's still a very good option to get dupes as well, because her damage isn't that bad, alright? For a burst 2, her damage is decent, alright? She also has pierce herself when she bursts as well, which is quite interesting. So whether you want to add her or not, it depends on whether you're trying to get new characters on the other roster. But definitely there's more priority if you're trying to get like multitudes of characters, right? Admi used to be really strong for burst 2, but nowadays there's better option. I still think she's a very decent 20 seconds burst 2. Senti as well. Senti is a very good PvP character. If you're trying to improve upon your PvP specifically, then she's a decent option. Other than that, I don't think you use her much in PvE anymore. So especially once you get TI and Naga, you're probably not going to use Senti as much, so which makes a lot of sense. Drake is a decent burst 3 buffer. Again, she is similar concept to Privati, where despite being burst 3, she's not really an attacker, but she's more of a buffer based upon this, right? She improves hit rate and attack of all allies. So you can just slot her in easily to bring 3 burst 3 characters. Very good in that sense. So if you can get 1 copy, she's not going to be too bad. Lethal, I don't really recommend unless you're trying to get her to limit break 3 for the 160 wall again, because you are getting Lethal for free, right? From the bonus recruit. Same concept right there. Lapas. Now this is kind of a debatable thing, right? Lapas, a lot of players said she's strong. If you get her to treasure, she's not bad. However, if you are in that new player to mid player kind of category, you probably won't be able to get her to treasure that soon, right? I'm not sure if she will remain relevant in the meta, right? She is very unique in terms of she does true damage, but at the same time there's also plenty of other characters in Misil that you can consider. Now I'm using her in the Misil tower specifically. She's one of the stronger ones alongside with Quincy, but if you can't afford to get her treasure specifically for a newer player, I feel like you're getting like a handicap version, right? But obviously you can get 1 copy if you want to. In my humble opinion, I think prioritizing Maxwell makes more sense, because Maxwell is someone that you use every single solo raids, every single union raid. She's very flexible, similar concept to Drake, and she's better than Drake because she boosts way more. Alright, she's a burst 3 that helps boost your team. You can see right here, activates 2 allies with the highest attack, increased charge speed, increased attack by 43%. Very, very high, alright? So she's used to buff the other 2, usually pilgrims in your team. Very, very good buffer in that sense. Just an overall very versatile character. I highly recommend you guys to get Maxwell at least 1 copy. She's also, her damage on her own is also not bad. However, it is starting to fall off a little bit, right? Definitely you can see in competition with a lot of other characters. Now Pepper is a decent burst 1. Alright, if you're looking for a healer in burst 1, I would say go for Pepper. But for most players nowadays, because you get Lethal for free, I doubt a lot of players are going to use Pepper anymore, right? Because you still want cooldown reduction, CDR in a lot of your burst 1 characters, and that's going to be her only downside, right? If you don't use cooldown reduction, you just lose on so much damage. It is just going to be a little bit on the handicapping your damage kind of side, right? So that's one thing to consider. I wouldn't recommend using Uni at all. She's not that good. As for Tove, she's very, very strong. If you guys want to build shotgun team, she's pretty much the core of the shotgun team. For a lot of players, she is going to be a very, very strong character. You can get 1 copy for her, right? But should she be your priority? It depends, like I mentioned, if you're trying to build shotgun team or not, right? Shotgun team, if you have made Privati, if you have Bunny Soda, which is going to be the burst 3 as well, and if you have Blanc and Nor, then definitely she's going to be the priority. Get her. But if you don't care into going that route, maybe not. But considering that you guys are watching this guide, I think a lot of you guys are probably on the newer side. So I would say no if you are super new, because she's very expensive. If you want to build shotgun team, you need her skill 1 to be at least a level 9 or level 10, which is very, very expensive for a lot of new players, right? And if you are new, you probably want to build your Lethal first. You probably want to focus on Tianaga, Blanc and Noir. Those are going to be more flexible than just a shotgun team buffer like her in this case, right? Still very strong, but not a priority for new players, which is why I wouldn't recommend getting her early on. However, Jackal is someone that I recommend because you get much more value out of Jackal. She's the best PvP character right now. Alright, if you Even if you don't care about PvP, guys, please consider doing PvP because it gives you so much gems, right? It's crazy. A lot of people ask me, oh, why would I do PvP in this game? I don't care about PvP, but you're missing out on 2000 gems every single 2 weeks, man. You're not supposed to get top 10, but at least try to get like top 20 in your bracket, right? Every single bracket is different. Some of you guys might even be in a bracket that's filled with weak people. You don't even know, you could be just rank 1 easily if you just put a little bit of effort. So consider that. Jackal, very very strong in PvP because she has the ability to share damage with the 2 highest attacker. If you guys don't know how she works, her skill 2 right here, right? So she shares damage taken with 2 ally units with the highest attack, so she protects the damage dealer pretty much. Very very strong in that sense to prevent them from dying extremely fast. Now, I don't recommend Julia, probably one of the worst burst 3 in the game. Crow is definitely the worst character in the game. No offense, alright? I know some people get very mad when I say that, but she is. Cold hard fact. And the world is cruel. That's just what it is. Some characters are strong, some characters are weak. So Epinel, she's mid, alright? She's mid at most. Alec is a very good character if you're trying to do fast dailies, alright? I do use her in simulation just to be able to... What she does is she basically gives you burst gauge by 100%. So basically, you get burst gauge immediately when you start the battle. You just boom bam bam, use your burst skill, destroy everything fast. Fast dailies, but for most players, you can get away with not having her. And with that, now we have Trony, which is not that recommended, Ayn, and Quincy Escape Queen. Now, the better choice would be to take out Drake. You get 1 copy of Drake, alright? And then you put Ayn and Quincy as Escape Queen. These 2 are very very strong. Now, Ayn is probably one of the best Misil damage dealer right now. She's probably like the only few character that can compete in terms of damage with a lot of pilgrims out there. Like, I'm not even joking. In some cases, she out damages Modernia. In some cases, she can out damage Red Hood if you use her correctly. If she has like elemental damage and stuff, she's very very strong, which is why it makes sense to get more copies of her. Now, Quincy Escape Queen, she is probably going to be one of the better water type damage DPS right now. Upcoming in December, we're going to have 1 limited character. Her name is Winter Ludmilla. Alright, I'm going to talk about her in a separate video, right? But Winter Ludmilla is also another water type damage. If you don't think you will be able to get Winter Ludmilla, then Quincy Escape Queen right here is probably going to be the second best. Those 2 are like... They're pretty much neck and neck in damage actually, like really really close, but I think Winter Ludmilla comes out slightly on top, like maybe like 5 to 10% more damage, right? Overall, you know, in terms of water damage right now, for DPS type characters, we don't really have a Pilgrim characters that can do that for burst 3, maybe Dorothy is burst 1, but other than that, this is probably going to be the best list for most players. Once you get TR 1 copy, then you probably don't need multiple copies for her, you can take her out and probably slot in some of the burst 3, right? Again, always apply the concept. Damage dealers benefit more from the dupes, right? So this is probably going to be what my recommendation is. Very very strong characters. Jackal, I feel like you can basically get more mileage out of her copies because she is a very strong character in PvP. And in PvP, CP matters a lot. Combat power, where you and your enemy, depending on the difference in the power, if you are higher than your enemy, you are able to push them, push the ranks much easier, right? So generally, that's going to be something to consider. Now let's talk about the last one, Tetra line. So this is going to be the most insane power scaling in terms of the best faction right now. Tetra is filled with a lot of meta characters. Now, who is going to be the best character for you to pick? Now, end game wise, if you're trying to get multiple copies, I highly recommend Alice. Alice is one of the strongest DPS character in the game. If you can choose one character to get multiple dupes of, after Limit Break 3, you want to get her to Core 1, Core 2, all the way up to Core 7, she makes a lot of sense because she is a character that you use almost everywhere. I don't think there's any situation where you don't really use her at all, which is going to be really, really insane. Highly recommend Alice for sure. Biscuit is also strong in PvP. If you can get 1 copy, just get 1 copy. That's going to be pretty much it. Freema is a little bit complex, right? She has Treasure. It's going to be very, very expensive. She also gives a true damage boost right here. I think most people just don't really build her, right? Sadly, again, because she lacks the CDR cooldown reduction for burst 1. Now, if you want to get her for the Treasure, sure. But without her Treasure, by default, she's just a lackluster unit. Now, Dola is a good character to obtain 1 copy for. Alright, if you just want to get 1 copy, highly recommend for the Burst 2 CDR character. because Dola is one of the few characters out there that's burst 2 that also give you cooldown reduction. Besides Dola, the other character is a limited character, which is Swimsuit Helm, which you cannot get for the time being until her banner reruns. So one thing to consider, right? She has value, gives you the flexibility, like if you want to use like healer on burst 1 that doesn't have CDR, then you can use burst 2 Dola to give you that cooldown reduction. Very, very cool in that sense. Highly recommend at least 1 copy. Now as for noise, I think she's really strong. Alright, get 1 copy of her. She should be a priority. She can be used in PvP. In a lot of PvE scenarios, she can also help you heal and taunt a little bit as well. Viper is very strong, but only if you like mid-game, late-game onwards, you want to get her the Treasure. She's very, very strong. Alright, she has a lot of damage potential. I do think that she is pretty unique in that sense. However, for a lot of newer players, if you can't get Treasure yet, because again it's very expensive, right, to invest in a burst 2 character for the time being, you still want to go for burst 3 characters and put the skills, and skill books are going to be super rare for a lot of new players. So definitely don't go for her until you are late game, right? So Blanc and Noir used to be a really strong character, used to be a really strong pair, but nowadays I feel like you can easily swap Noir out for Rouge, because Rouge is a better character. Where is she? She's somewhere here. In a lot of sense, that she also gives you a lot of potential in terms of pairing. Alright, you don't really need Blanc and Noir anymore. You can do Rouge and Blanc or Rouge and Noir. I still think Noir is really strong, right? I still think you should get her at least 1 copy. She is going to be an attacker that's similar to Maxwell and Drake, where she buffs your allies generally. Because of this particular skill, as long as she has above 70% HP, you know, she can basically boost everybody's attack by 14%. Very, very strong character. However, you know, you gotta power out the skill 1 to at least level 10 or at least high skill level to get the effect, right? But you should at least get 1 copy of Noir, definitely. I do recommend at least 1 copy, but it's really hard to prioritize her early on, right? Basically, Blanc and then Rouge and then Noir, and there's so many other good characters right here, right? Should you prioritize those in particular? Probably not, but a lot of these, like for example 8 is not really used as much. Moran and Rosanna are more of a PvP character, but they're not as strong as Jackal. Jackal should still be your priority. Lumila, you probably won't use her that often. Cocoa, Nero, Soda, not that used often. Extra is good only if you have Treasure. And then we got Sakura, which is again very niche, right? She can be used to help you with Train, but nowadays we have Anomaly Intercession, no more Train right there. Milk, almost never used. Yen, decent in PvP, that's pretty much it. Volume, you can get 1 copy, alright? 1 copy for her because she's a CDR character, again burst 1, but Liter is free nowadays, so yes, if you are trying to go solo raids, union raids, multiple teams, sure, get 1 copy. But for most newer players, prioritize on Liter first. You probably can't even build that many characters, right? If you're super new, skill books are going to be a rarity or scarcity. So you can consider her later on, eventually. Now Romani and Clay, sadly, these two are not really used much, alright? Again, both are like decent in PvP. Bunny Alice, I tried using her in a lot of solo raids, but she is pretty much being outperformed by Blanc and Noir in general, right? If you are looking for a healing. I think her problem is starting to be more and more prevalent because she's a 40 seconds burst 1 cooldown character rather than a 20 seconds burst 1 cooldown character. A little bit expensive to invest into as well. For a character that you don't really use often, it is going to be hard recommend, especially for new players, right? Now, if you want a decent damage dealer, Bunny Soda is going to be able to carry you in the Tetra tower, alright? Because out of the many characters right here, alright, that we're talking about, like DPS characters overall, maybe outside of Alice, damage wise, they're probably not going to help you much in terms of pushing, but Bunny Soda, very, very strong character. If you are looking to push Tetra tower, right, she's going to be one of the more viable options alongside with Alice. Obviously, Winter Lumila is also something that is an option, but she's a limited character, right? If you're looking to get multiple copies, definitely highly recommend her. She's also one of the crucial characters in the shotgun team variant. So if you have this particular cards right here, you can consider taking out Noise eventually, right? You might not need multiple copies, but other than that, this is going to be something that you can consider putting in early on, alright? Just to get by with the burst 1, burst 2, burst 3. You have plenty of options right here for the Tetra tower. So yeah, overall, this is going to be my priority in terms of wish list. Again, I know some of you guys might have a different priority or different thought regarding which character they want to put first. Let me know of your thoughts in the comment section below. With that being said, that's gonna be it for this particular video. Subscribe if you guys haven't already, give this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.